What's something someone said to you on a date that made you want to end it immediately? A guy laughed at me when I told him I liked to cook and I think I'm good at it. He said, well, my best friend is a chief, but I will be kind when I taste your food. Like he didn't believe me and he would rate my food like I was a child or something. I ghosted him. I 28F went on a date with a guy 27M who wasn't the most attractive, but I liked his personality. We had an okay conversation and then he asked me what places have you traveled to? I tell him the 4-5 places I have been and he proceeds to laugh and go, oh wow, I've been to way more places than you. Sucks that you were so uncultured. I wanted to leave, but I just waited till the date was over and blocked his number the minute I got to my car. I'm a plus-sized gal, and I once went on a date with a bigger guy who said to me, you know, you have such a pretty face, have you thought about a gym membership for the rest of it? He had the gall to think I was coming to his house after the fact, but had no answer when I snarked, oh, so I'm too fat to be seen with in public, but not too fat for you to try to get in my pants. We did not have a second date. He said nothing. Nothing. We sat in silence for the better part of a 1-hour date at dinner without saying anything. I'd ask him a question and he would give me one-word answers until I just gave up, because there was no elaboration conversation. It was our third date. The topic of kids got brought up. I said I eventually wanted to have one. He laughed and said he doesn't like kids. Then he said he pushed his ex down a flight of stairs when she had a pregnancy scare, then tried playing it off as a joke. He didn't understand why I blocked him. I ran into his ex a few months later, small town. I asked her about it and she confirmed it was true. He complimented my red hair. Nice, right? Caveat: I don't have red hair. I'm a blonde. So I, obviously confused, said, what? I'm blonde? He keeps insisting my hair is red. I keep telling him it's absolutely blonde. Blonde since birth. He's so adamant about this, telling me what my own damn hair color is. He starts getting argumentative and aggressive. I end up texting my hairstylist, saying long story but humor me. What color is my hair? She replies platinum blonde. He finally concedes, only to strawberry blonde. No pal, just no. He keeps trying to argue with me, attempting to mansplain my own hair color to me. He was so rude and he refused to admit he was wrong. He just kept talking down to me, like I was an idiot who didn't know my own hair color. I finally just got up. Bro was probably colorblind, but the argumentativeness and aggressiveness was a hard pass for me. It wasn't even 5 minutes into the date and the waitress hadn't even brought our drinks yet. He told me how and why his ex-girlfriend had to get an order of protection against him, and how he thinks they are wrong. This was in response to the fact that I have an order of protection against my ex, so he ended it with, but your situation is different. It really didn't matter what he said for the rest of the day, honestly. I hate when people just smash on their ex or are rude to the server. It's crazy how common it is. I was 20 or so, in college, and was led to believe my date was also 20 and in college. It was a blind date set up by a friend. Basically, he let it slip that he was a high schooler 17 years old. There was no second date. Saying I love you on a first date will 99 likely never result in date 2 from me. Otherwise, not much will immediately end a date for me. But those questions and her attitude seemed toxic. IMO, especially if she couldn't connect your career to your answers. I was on a date with chap who seemed lively. We'd been messaging and calling for about 2 weeks. Go out for a coffee date. All going well, then all of a sudden he started talking about money, down to how much he had in the bank, how much he earned, how much I'd have to pay when I moved in. Dude, I laid eyes on you 10 minutes ago. This is way too soon. Pretty much anything that hints at sex. 2 hours into a pretty solid first date. Can I tell you something that kind of involves you? My friends and their husbands have been getting into swinging, and they have all been trying to hook up with me as much as they could before we had dinner tonight, because I've been talking about you a lot and they think you may be the one. If this works out, they may lose their opportunity to have sex with me in the future if you're the monogamous type. The last few weeks have basically just been non-stop sex with everyone I know. But they didn't want to do it before that because I was a virgin for a really long time and they didn't want to rush me. Now don't get me wrong, I'm experienced. I hadn't had sex, but I've sucked a lot of DKs. I even bit one once. There was no second date. She seems like a girl that's been fed with gifts from her spoiled parents her whole life and/or has high expectations from what she sees on social media. Like, come on, a coffee date isn't so bad. You're seriously in the beginning of getting to know each other. What is she expecting, a trip to Europe or a dinner to Naboo? This generation, well, life we live in now is fucked. Ay Dios mío. Walked me to my car after dinner and gave me an awkward hug and said, I want you. I'd been on a few dates with this guy I really liked, but looking back on it, There were quite a few things he said to me that I absolutely wouldn't be stoked about now. He kept making little comments on my appearance, asking why I chose to wear what I do. I don't exactly have an outlandish wardrobe, and I like to think I dress pretty stylishly. But he definitely was very polished looking. He always had such shiny shoes. My shoes tend to look like they've been outside a lot, haha. But the one big one was when he told me that I was almost exactly what he wanted in a girlfriend. That turned things off real good. I knew I'd never be able to compete with the perfect version of me that had made up. Went on a date with a 33-year-old man when I was 26. I usually don't date men who are that much older. I prefer dating 2 years, but I wanted to give this a chance since I wasn't having any luck with my usual age bracket. I thought he would be mature and sorted for his age, only to find out he was the worst among the lot. He drank an entire pitcher of beer by himself. I have a rule where I don't drink on first dates, but I told him I don't mind if he had a drink or two. Did not expect him to get drunk. Then he spent the next 40 minutes showing me pictures on his phone of him partying in clubs and raves. I was so bored. His idea of fun was I drink and I party. He couldn't add anything more to the conversation. It was so disappointing. He wanted to order another pitcher of beer, and I made up an excuse that I had to leave and ran. Never met him again. He texted after the date saying it was fun, and I replied saying I don't see this going anywhere, so I won't be meeting him. The dude couldn't even take the rejection gracefully and got defensive, saying this was nothing, so there is nothing to go anywhere. I feel the same, and I just ignored him after that. Ugh, boys. Didn't mind her getting on about philosophy and her view of the world, but when it went all depressive, that's a big no at the start. Tried to lighten the mood twice or thrice, yet she continued on the same negative speech. At some point, I just had enough. Next time philosophy is ever brought up, he'll be dodging that bullet real quick.